From the World Famous Venice Barbershop. This is episode 9 with my buddy Logan.
Hello,
we're just gonna do some really good haircuts, talk about some really cool shit, and just vibe. And I appreciate everybody tuning in.
All right.
All right, so first things first, what are we gonna do here on the cut?
I mean, Leo, shaggy as fuck. So we're doing the whole photo shoot thing this weekend. Not my idea, you know. She set it all up. It's in Glendale. Apparently, it's like the place that people in LA go for this shit.
Okay.
It's the cost of a small car. This is all fucking insane to me. It's fucking insane. But that's you know, I think what I learned early in my marriage and what I know certainly now that I have a child is like I don't get a fucking vote. Like I'm here. I'm just trying to not upset anybody, you know.
Yeah.
So, in light of that, let's go nice and short, just enough so that I can like pick it up with like you know, like a little bit of gel or a little bit of powder or whatever, but pretty nice and tight.
Okay, let's do it. So you were telling me right before you just had your baby.
This is
first child, baby boy.
Yeah, first child, son at 40. I waited. I took my sweet fucking time with this.
Dude, you don't look a day over fucking 32, man.
Yeah, well, you know, that's the marijuana. You know, it turns out if you pickle yourself with enough THC, you look permanently like a child.
Yeah.
It's cool. I have a few friends who know that secret, you know. It's very simple.
Yeah.
One ingredient, religiously practiced several times a day.
Nice. Nice. I love it. Man, that's awesome. How'd you feel?
You know, for me it was interesting because my dad. Listen, I love my dad. Is a great guy. I love my dad. Like he taught me a lot of really awesome shit. But like, not the warmest dude.
Yeah.
You know, and so we had like a very, I call it a formal relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, called him sir sometimes. Like, you know,
was he in the army or anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was older, so he was in his 50s when I was born.
Okay.
So he's a Korean combat veteran. You know, he got in right at the end of the war when they were frantically retreating. You know, they kind of went into China. Chinese came over the Yalu.
Yeah.
You know, about 1 million of them, and there was about 50,000 American soldiers. Jeez. And so they went busting back down. You know, the 30th parallel basically, you know, became the dividing line between North and South Korea. So he was in that retreat.
Okay.
And it's in the middle of winter. He had a bullet in his shoulder, apparently.
What?
I don't know a lot of the details because like it's something he would never talk about. But
yeah.
I know enough to know people he died. He probably killed a few people himself. You know,
yeah.
Like, you know, there's a lot of
some shit.
Yeah, and so he was always just, you know, when I was young, he'd come back from work and, you know, really wouldn't say anything. He'd go to the fridge. I remember what this like clockwork. He'd go to the fridge. He would pull out this is in the Midwest. This is the Midwest in the 80s. You got to understand, this is going to sound, especially California people are going to go, what? This is the grossest shit I've ever heard in my life. But this was very normal, I swear. He would go in and pull out a loaf of Wonder Bread. It's always Wonder Bread. It's the only bread we ever had in the house. And he'd take out like a big stack of Oscar Mayer bologna, like half the package. Like 3-4 slices of American cheese, some pickles, and some mustard. And he'd just slather that shit onto a sandwich about this thick. Go to the news, pour 5 fingers of scotch, and he'd just sit there for an hour, watch the news and eat a sandwich, and you were not allowed to fuck with him. Like, you could be in the room.
Yeah.
You were allowed to come in, you could kind of hang out, but if you made any noise, like, he wouldn't even say anything. He'd just pick you up, like, often by your ankles, just couldn't drag your ass out of the room. You know, so he was that kind of, like, you know, a very sort of classic, old-school dad. And, you know, I kind of was like, hey, there's things he did, you know, he taught a lot about hard work, taught a lot about, you know, being honest and owning your shit, and just, like, you know, traditional masculine stuff. But, you know, it's hard to connect with him. And so I've tried to, you know, I want to be able to do that with my kid.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be accessible to him. I don't want to be this, like, distant figure that's only there when, you know, when discipline needs to be meted out, you know. So for me, you know, it was just this rush of emotion. Because, like, I was super worried that, you know, I didn't really have the switch. Because I don't think he did. You know, he didn't have the, like, loving, paternal, like, I'm going to take care of you kind of thing.
Sure,
he was just kind of like, I have a career, I have all this serious shit going on, and, like, I'll make sure that you're, you know, which, look, fair enough, right? But, like, I'll make sure you're clothed, I'll make sure, you know, you have you have access to education and medical care, but like I'm not your fucking therapist.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And that was very much his vibe. And you know, I don't want to turn Mike into a soft little marshmallow either, but I think there's a balance to strike.
For sure.
And I think for him, it was like he just didn't have that switch. So like it wasn't even a choice. Like he just wasn't. You know, I remember when I was going to law school. When I was 23. It was the first time I was leaving home. You know, I went to school like 20 minutes away from where I grew up, so like it wasn't that big a deal. When I'm going to law school, it's the night I'm driving there. It's from Charlottesville. It's like 6-7 hours away, and he just puts out his it's like we're saying bye to each other, and this is normally where you hug, right? And there's like that 1 second where I'm like, hey man, we're gonna hug, and then they just sticks out his hand. And he's like, well, you've been a good son. And I was like, thanks, thank you.
He's like, don't go fuck yourself.
Yeah, and he came to visit me like a month later, and I was like, oh, maybe he misses me, and he's like, oh, well, there was a conference, and this was pretty much on the exact road I'm taking back, so I thought I'd stop in and see how you're doing. Have you fucked up any of your grades?
Yeah.
It's just, yeah. But so for me, I was kind of like, maybe like him, I don't have a switch,
Correct.
And this is going to be one of those things where like my instincts don't help me not fuck up the kid, and I'm going to spend my whole life actively thinking, am I fucking up the kid? And I was very pleasantly surprised, like, in about, I just looked at him and I just knew, you know, like, I think that the wild thing for me is like I have weird eyes. I got this weird kind of like green-blue mix. There's a little bit of a gray hue. It's just, I've never seen anything quite like it, and I'm sure there's 7.5 billion humans. I'm sure there's a few who have it. I've just not met them. And he's crying. She had a C-section, so they hand him to me first because they still have to operate on her for another 45 minutes. That's what they don't tell you. You don't get the kid at the end of the surgery. You get your kid 10 minutes into the surgery.
Shoot.
And then they spend the other 45 minutes stitching her up. Like literally shoving her intestines back into her body and like taking the liver off the shelf and putting it just it was wild.
That's crazy.
And so I'm holding him.
It's like, yeah, you forgot this.
Yeah.
Killing me there. Okay.
Yeah. But I'm holding him, and he's crying. And, he settles down for a second, and he opens his eyes, and it's my eyes.
Yeah.
Exactly. The little gray hue, all of it. It's exactly me. That was it. That was like the moment. Something in my brain just went, aha. And like at that moment, someone come up to me and been like, well, I'm taking the kid. Like I just kill him. Like I just it'd be like in a fucking superhero movie when the villain busts loose, just grab the nearest guy and just like to his head and like rip some dude's arm off and beat him to death with his own arms and like start swinging torsos around. Like I'd go crazy.
Yeah.
And it's not. I wasn't like I'm gonna feel this way. That was just something that like woke up in me.
Yeah.
Like a car was speeding at him, I'd like punch the car still. Like it's ridiculous.
It's like it's natural instinct, right? Like it's crazy. It's fascinating. A lot of people, we understand like a lot more on just like I guess emotions now more than ever, right?
Right.
Like same with my dad. Like he wasn't really too tight with like his dad and my grandma.
Right.
He'd always say like my great grandmother raised him. So same thing kind of with me. It wasn't. It was just kind of like I always think of what was the Mark Wahlberg. It's a Christmas movie, Stepdads.
Oh yeah.
And then they're meeting at the airport, and they're just should we kiss? And then, like it's just like like,
right.
He's like and it's just not being able to express that emotion because I'm with my son. I'm in the same way. Like I'm like, man, I want you to be tough, right? But I'm also like, man, I fucking love you, dude. Like I'm gonna let you know every single day that I love you, and that's okay, right? Like it is.
And that's the thing. There's a balance there, right? And like I think our society's maybe gone a little towards the soft end. There's a little bit of like, well, any feeling I have is valid, and it's like once in a while it might not hear you to say buck the fuck up and like deal with it.
Correct.
But I mean, I think we were raised by a generation of guys who that was the answer for every single thing always.
Correct.
Right? And like no dude has infinite mental resources. Like there's a limit for all of us. and it's, there's no meter, it's not predictable, you don't necessarily know when it's coming, but it's there.
Yep.
And so I think, for some of our elders, there was a little bit of like, well, I'm just going to gut through, I'm going to knuckle through, and, I can just do this forever. And it's like, okay, but you're coming home and like starting the night with 5 fingers of scotch. Don't you think that's weird?
Yeah. For sure.
Like, he would always just be like, well, I like scotch. And it's like, yeah, I know, but like that's a little more than like that. That's it. And when you do it every night, it's a habit. There's a word starts with A. I don't want to use it because you're gonna get really mad at me.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah, and it's like you look at what alcoholism was like in that generation. It's like these things are not accidents; they're not coincidences. And so look, it's tough because the answer is not go this full like let's have cry sessions and let's hug each other and let's oh my God, like life is so hard. You can't do that either, but you can't be, the answer for every single thing can't be like, just be tough. Rub some dirt on it. It's fine. Like, and I think striking that balance, especially when, you're not raised with a model that operates that way and you got to kind of come up with it yourself, it's not easy.
Correct. Yeah, no, I'm learning a lot with my kids right now. Like I had a situation today in the morning where I'm getting the kids ready. I'm like, yo, wake up, we gotta be at school. And then they both run to the bathroom to use the bathroom, right? And then, my son was just gonna pee, but then he just like pulls down his pants and like, oh, I gotta poop, And I'm like, and my daughter's like, I'm gonna pee my pants. And I'm like, hey, dude, just let your sister go real quick. I was like, I'll explain it to you right now. Yeah. And he's like, no, but I was here, And like, I don't even think he had the poop, dude. He just was like, yo.
He's marking this territory.
So it got pretty intense, right? It's like 7 a.m. I'm just like, yo, I need you to step out. Like, I'm going to explain it to you right now. I was like, sometimes, there's sacrifices. We're going to let your sister go. I was like, we're doing just, But he's like, no, Dad, I was here first. And I'm like, yo, I understand that, but we could just hold it. We were even like, you could just go pee in the shower, right? Like, we're trying to figure things out. We only got one bathroom. It's
you're giving him that cheat code early.
Yeah. So he goes, he goes, no, he wasn't listening. So I was just like, I was like, boy, get out of here. So like, I grab him, right? And dude, I'm talking like barely. And he goes like,
I'm shot.
Like, dude, just starts going nuts, bro. And I'm like, what? I'm looking at him like, come on, man. He's like, my arm. And I'm like, yo, son, you got to chill out, boy. Like, and I'm trying to get this through to explain to him. I was like, look, man, maybe you won't understand this right now, but you're going to understand it when you're older. I was like, we let, as men, we're going to let women go. It's courteous. I was like, if you need to use it, we could go in the bathroom. And he's not understanding this, and it turned into this whole thing the whole morning. And he's crying, and I had to just get loud. And I was like, boy, you need to pull yourself together right now. We're going to have a great day. I said, you use the bathroom, everything's fine, like we're going to be fine.
Right.
And it's crazy because sometimes with my girl, she'll come in, and then he's like, well, I want to talk to mom. And then, she was like, hey, like she from the back was like, hey, stop talking back to your dad. And it kind of just realigned that, and he was just like, man, I'm cornered. And I was like, boy, there's nothing we could do right now. We're not here crying, you're yelling at me. I was like, I'm trying to explain this to you. But I had to put those clamps down, and I had to really let him know. And, he took a deep breath and was like, okay. And I brought it back in. I was like, dude, we're going to crush the day. We're going to have an amazing day. Like, come on,
Right.
And that was it, man. He forgot about it. We're back in, I made sure my daughter was like, hey, say thank you to your brother, and I just had to reiterate that. Like, hey, dude, sometimes we're going to make sacrifices. It's going to be tough. And, you got to shrug it off. And so my girl was like, what would you do? Why was he crying? I said, look, man, I'm trying to prep him for life. If he thought me pulling his arm was pain, I was like, man, like, he's not ready. And that I'm trying to get him ready, like, to prepare, because the world's just going to crush him.
Get ready for your first breakup, kid.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I even told him, I was like, son, we got to do more push-ups. I was if me grabbing your arm like that hurt you, then we got to start working out. We got to get some muscle in you, But, we were talking about it earlier. It takes time. That's one day. That's one morning, right? Yeah. And then there's, X amount of days in school every morning. You know, the night before, it was like telling my daughter, like, hey, you got to clean up. Man, there's a lot, man. There's a lot. I'm trying to, you know, make sure he's disciplined, but also, like, you know, he's still real loving. I'll correct him, and then it's like, yo, Dad's chilling. We're good.
Yeah.
We're good. Like, I love you. I was like, yo, son, I love you. I told my daughter, both you guys have learned a bunch of stuff. I'm going to ask you at the end of the day. We're not, like, waiting on this thing, like, I'm going to whoop your ass and blah, blah, blah. You know? It was just like, hey, man, I'm trying to teach you a moment. You're going to understand it when you're older. I don't know if you're going to understand it now. I'll explain it to you. But trust me. And yeah, man. And there's a lot of life lessons, and I'm seeing that more. You know, because I used to go, you know, I used to go on the weekends with my dad. I'd be in the all week with my mom. So you need kind of that male structure, right? You know, women providing the nurture, and I'm seeing where the both really go hand in hand. Yeah. Because you can't always be Lieutenant Dane running order book, right? So it's like, you gotta, you know, the mom comes in nurturing, loving, right? And so I'm learning a lot with my kids to be a lot more loving, right? Be kinder. Cause you know, I grew up and I'm like, yo, this life, you know, it's fucking crazy and you gotta be ready, and you know, you get home.
Always be tough.
Yeah. And you get home and you're just like, man, dude, you know, kids are happy, they're loving. I've gotten better with my baby now, because I was really strict with my son and daughter, and then I realized, like, you know what, man, they're fucking kids, dude. They're here enjoying their life. I'm gonna come in when you're messing up, like, hey, you know, don't talk back, you know, just some little stuff, man. But I'm not an expert. I'm still trying to understand all of it, but.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's like you said something earlier that I really liked, right? Which is, you know, you're talking about, you explain to him, hey, she's going to the bathroom, you're not. You explain why, and like, look, same thing. I'm not an expert on this stuff at all. You know, dude, until like 2 months ago, I didn't know I didn't know a single thing about like babies or children, how any of this shit worked. But like the way I deal with a ton of anxiety is I read. So like I'll get like 10 books, and I'm a pretty fast reader, and I'll just like go right through them, and that's kind of how I calm myself, because I was freaked the fuck out. I'm like, there's a kid, and I could fuck up a human life. I don't even know how he's born. Like I don't understand any of this shit. Like, you know, we go to like a doctor's visit for her, and they're like, oh, you know, like this is how he's looking, and this is his heartbeat and his pulse, and I'm like, is that okay? Is he dying? Is he okay?
Yeah.
You know, and so I just, you know, I needed to get a basis. And one of the things that I've seen in a lot of these books that I really like is, you know, you get away from this traditional model of like discipline because I told you so, and it's much more like, here's the rule, here's the problem, and this is why there's a rule.
Correct.
And if you have an alternative, I'll hear you. Like, I'll even hear you out. Like, understand what we're trying to get to. And, you know, again, like, if you want to go pee in the shower, don't tell your mom, but, you know, I'm not...
For sure.
And I think explaining that why is really important. Because, like, again, I go back to my childhood. You know, I remember I was I think I got this from my dad, ironically, is like, I was a very stubborn, very independent-minded kid. And so he'd be like, here's a rule. And I'm like, why? Yeah. You know, it's like I was going to be a lawyer or something. And I'd just be like, why? And he's like, well, because I said so. And I'd be like, well, that's not fair. And he's like, well, guess what? You don't live in America. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm an American. He's like, no, you're not a citizen yet. You're not a citizen until you're 18. You don't have any rights. You live in a dictatorship. I run that dictatorship. That's how this shit works. You have no fucking rights. You have whatever rights I give you. Yeah. Like, that is your existence. So you're going to do it because I fucking told you to do it. And, you know, obviously most of the time that worked because he was terrifying and bigger, and, you know, but I wasn't bought in. Yeah. You know, I was just doing it so I didn't get a shit kicked out of me. Yeah. I never understood why. I never bought in. And it's like, giving kids an opportunity, like, because they're smarter than you think they are. Correct. And giving a kid an opportunity to understand why something is the way it is, like what the goal is, and it breeds creativity. If the kid can be like, cool, here's what I want, here's what dad wants, here's how we bridge those two. Yeah. Like, that's how you create a kid who's resilient, who solves problems, who can pivot quickly. Like, that's how you do it. Correct. And you just have to give them enough knowledge to understand what's going on and not get frustrated and be like, well, I just gave you a law and I pay for your food and I pay for your roof and you're just gonna fucking do it. Like,
No, it's a dude, and it's a trip. It gets. I mean, when he started kindergarten, the first week he comes home, he's like, Dad. He was like, you know that this finger's a really bad finger, but all these other fingers are really good fingers. So like, don't use this finger. And I'm like, oh shit, right? We're in kindergarten, first week, and I'm like, oh man, I'm not ready for what like the world's about to bring, right? And I realized that like, damn, there's nothing I could really do other than to educate him and do everything I could to just make sure he's aware.
Right.
Because he's going to be out, right? And it's going to get bigger and more intense, right? The older he gets. And I can't control that, right? Like whether they're talking about this or that or doing drugs, like I just have to do enough to educate him to be like, hey man, this is right, this is wrong, I wouldn't do this. Like, you know, it's a trip, dude. It's a trip.
Yeah, I mean, you could be like, you know, someday someone will ask you to smoke weed, and in moderation, that's not a big deal. And you can show them a bunch of movie stars and comedians and politicians and rappers, and they all smoke weed, and yet here they are very successful. You'll be like, and someday someone will ask you to smoke meth or do this drug called heroin. And here's pictures of people who do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, you're a smart kid. I think you can figure this out.
Show them an episode of Tyrone Biggums. And shit, you know? And
we can watch Trainspotting.
Yeah. This is what will become of you. You know? It's like chocolate.
Yeah.
This doo-doo, baby. Like, what?
Y'all gonna have more of them pig dicks.
Man. Yeah, this shit's crazy, bro. It's crazy. I mean, it's all in the same, just a blessing. They keep me in check. They keep me out of trouble. They keep me busy. It's funny, man. And it's like fine wine, dude. It's only gonna get better. One thing, there was this book. I did these like flashcards with my kid, really young, with my son. Just like some like cat, dog stuff. It's in this book. Like it's like it's like how to teach your kids to read. But in the first chapter, one thing that they said was like, we just want to congratulate you on your journey that you're about to begin. And it's interesting when you think of kids and babies and everything, we're only fixated on like poop and diapers and like, you know, little things.
A lot of that happening right now.
Yeah, no, for sure. And it's crazy though, because it's a journey, right?
Yeah.
So like, you may not be good at the diapers and stuff, but maybe at 3 and 6, you become better, you can connect. And maybe you don't connect at 3 and 6, and you're like, man, I'm not too good at this. But maybe at 12 and 13, as you becoming this male or this man or whatever, it's like, you tap in. Or maybe at like 20 when he's like, Dad, I'm trying to apply for colleges, or at 30 I'm trying to buy a mortgage, you know, what's the best rate, how do I purchase a home? Like, it's a trip, man. Like it's a journey. And so that's why sometimes even as I'm correcting them or trying to just like help them, I'm just like, dude, even, you know, because he was like, man, you're mad at me, this and that, and like, and it's like, dude, I'm just here to help you, man. Anything you need, I got you. That's what I'm here to do.
Even the stuff that pisses you off.
Correct.
The intention is always
correct. I'm like, dude, I'm here to make you better. I'm here to push you. Everything is with a good intention, man. Like, it's really. Man, congratulations. It's a blessing. It's I'm learning every single day. It is the craziest thing ever. With kids, man, you have respect. You understand what your parents, where they were either mad at you, stressing at you. My mom always used to stress out. I'd be out like DJing or doing something. Like, what time are you gonna go home? Are you okay? And I'm like, yo, chill. Like, you know, like, where's this at? Blah blah blah. And it's just like, man, the first time he went to school, and I'm like, man, he's gone. Like, oh shit, like, you know, like it felt weird, you know. He's at somebody else's house. You're just like, man, it's yeah.
That's like what I get when mothers have attachments. Like, she had a 24-hour labor. She had to get cut open at the end of it. Like, she was in, you know, she took an epidural, but even with the epidural, like, she was in terrible pain the entire time. It's like, I get how going through that experience creates that kind of bond. Like, before I was like, you know, yeah, mothers love their kids, whatever, it's weird, yeah, sure, dude. But like now, I'm like, I understand.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I've seen like the hardship that actually that is. And it's like, no human who went through that wouldn't have that bond at the end of that process. You carry them for 9 months. I mean, they're literally a part of you. They grow out of you. Like,
facts.
Yeah, it all just, it's just funny how like it's very few times in my life does like a perspective change quickly, right? You have to learn. You learn information. You kind of go, huh, that's interesting, and that kind of disturbs the worldview I had, and I got to figure out how to reconcile these, and it takes a little bit, and maybe, you know, a little while later, you're like, oh shit, okay, this makes sense, and then you change point of view. I don't think any time in my life I've really gone from like, here's my perspective to, this event happened, and 30 seconds later, it all makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Like, I've never had that experience. Yeah. And this was the one time where it's just a bunch of shit just clicked into place all of a sudden. Like, yeah, it's yeah, you know, and it's crazy. It's like, it's been a week.
Yeah.
You know?
Damn, yeah, that's fresh. Let's go.
And it's like, yeah, you know, and I'm you know, trying to be a tough man for him, but it's like, you know, I play him a bunch of music, and I don't know if you know Father and Son, Cat Stevens song. It's like an acoustic song. It's like a pretty famous 70s folk singer, and he's talking about, like, it's like him singing about, like, a relationship he had with his dad, where, like, you know, his dad wants him to, like, kind of stay home and stay safe, and the kid wants to go out and, like, take risks and experience the world. And it's just, you know, it's always kind of thought about my dad, you know, and because he was kind of that way, and I was kind of I want to get the fuck out of here and, like, you know, live life. And he's like, you know, just, like, go be an accountant and get, like, a steady job, and, you know, don't be fucking crazy. And, you know, I'm sitting here holding the kid, and that song comes on, and I'm looking down at him, and, like, I just start bawling. And, like, I'm not a crier, you know? Like, I mean, I have a compound fracture in my left leg. I cried, you know? They're lowering the Terminator into the slag pit at the end of Terminator 2, and does thumbs up. Sure, I cried. But, like, you know, outside of that, I'm not much of a crier.
Yeah.
And I'm just bawling. The song's going on, and I'm thinking about my dad, and I'm thinking about him, and it's like this bittersweet, like, I'm thinking about, you know, what I liked about my dad and what I didn't, and, like, how I'm going to not mess this kid up, and I'm just like, oh, God.
Yeah.
And my wife, who is not used to ever seeing me cry, is like, she's sitting in the hospital bed, like, looking at me, like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
She thought it was really cute, actually. It was more positive than anything, but she's just like, what is happening?
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Because, you know, it's just, I've never, you got to care about things in life, or life is going to be really cold and empty.
For sure.
But, like, you know, I've never gone from 0 to 100 like that about something ever.
Yeah.
I mean, this kid is now the most intense thing I care about in my life. There's nothing that comes close to the priority that he is. It's like literally a week ago, that didn't exist.
Yeah.
And now it's like, you know, there's a West Wing is like probably my favorite TV show of all time. You know, it's kind of what made me want to get into writing and get into TV in the first place. And there's a scene where the president's daughter, like college daughter, has been kidnapped by terrorists.
Okay.
And one of his advisors has just given birth, like his wife's just given birth to twins, and he comes straight from the hospital. And the president's saying he's not going to invoke the 25th Amendment. He's going to stay in office while this crisis is ongoing. And they all kind of agreed that's what they're doing, and they're coming up with a statement. And he's like, wait, what are you guys all doing? And they're like, well, we're figuring out how to tell people he's not going to step down.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. He has to step down. He's like, he has to step down. He's like, I have known my twins for 5 minutes, and there's not anything I wouldn't do. I would firebomb Mecca. I would launch a nuke. I would kill everybody to get them back. Like, it does not. I would not care about the body count. Like, he has got to go right this minute.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And it's like, that's what it was like. Like, nothing could keep me. Like, literally, an hour before, as far as I know, you know, as far as I understood, this kid didn't exist. You know, there was no priority. You know, intellectually, I understood I'm about to have a child, but, like, you know, there was nothing there in an emotional sense. There was nothing to attach to.
How wild is that? I mean, like, that's amazing, dude.
Yeah, and an hour later, like, you know, if they put him in a room, like, you can't get, like, I'd break through a concrete wall and go get this dude. Like, it's mind blowing.
Yeah, it's a crazy feeling. Just because too, like, you kind of like anything that was kind of on your mind or you're stressing about, like, I mean, anything is just kind of like out the window.
Right.
Like, I almost had, it was crazy. I felt it in my neck. I remember holding him. I was like, nothing else mattered. Like, I felt less stress. It was crazy. Like, I don't got to impress anybody. I don't got to do anything. Like, you, as long as me and you are road dogs for fucking life, man, I'm the happiest fucking dude ever. You know?
Right. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff. So, like, you know, I write about politics and that's what I spend a lot of time on. And, you know, I'm Jewish too. So obviously since you know, you might have heard a little thing happened in October. You know, it's been, you know, you see all this anti-Semitism cropping up online. And you see, you know, dudes marching through the streets with, like, you know, death to Israel and like, you know, long live the Intifada and like all this crazy shit. And you know, it's easy to get just frustrated and pissed off and angry. And it's like, you know, after this, it's like, I don't care about these motherfuckers. Like, they can yell and they can scream and they can fucking hate us, and like, I just don't give a shit. Like, I'm gonna take care of this kid. If they threaten this kid, I will fucking kill every single one. With my bare hands. But like, outside of that, like, you know, I don't care. Let them yell. I don't give a shit. Like, I don't have time to listen to these people. Like, I gotta worry about this dude. You know, and I don't want to bring, and more than that, I don't want to bring some like bad sort of hateful vibe around him.
Correct. Yep.
You know, I like, there's no point to it. Like I don't need to learn any more about these people than I already know.
Yeah.
You know, and that's been nice. You know, it's been, I've slept better. You know, I mean, and look, obviously I'm sleeping a lot less because I'm helping her all the time. Like, you know, I'm up in the middle of the night, you know, changing diapers and doing the thing. But, you know, when I do sleep, you know, usually for me, it's like sleep's like a 30, 45 minute wind down process. And I'm just head sitting the pillow and I'm just.
Yeah, you're a weekend, so I'd say like 2-3 weeks it settles in a little better, get like a routine. The first 2 weeks are
well,
pretty...
Grandma's helping. Her mom is a, like, I'm starting to think her mom just doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
And like, I'm trying, man. I'm like, look, I'll take him for the next, like, you know, because you got a 3-hour feeding cycle. So I'm like, I'll take him for the next 2 cycles. You just sleep for 6 hours. And she comes in like an hour later, like, I'm wide awake. I'll take him. I'm like, are you sure? I'm fine, you know. So yeah, grandma is all in.
That's fire. That's amazing. Yeah. That's a big, huge help.
Which is good for us because, you know, we wanted to get like, try to get a night nurse or something like that. We have 2 dogs and they're both rescues, and I, like, again, next to the kid, I love them like more than anything in the world. But one of them is a Chihuahua, and she is like 98% of her breed a fucking raving psycho. And just having a stranger in the house all the time, like, isn't going to get anyone sleep. She's just going to be running around the bedroom going. So
Chihuahuas are fucking crazy.
Dude, I mean, again, I say this with complete love, but she's batshit fucking psychotic.
Oh man, we used to have this little Chihuahua, Mimi, bro.
Yeah.
We wouldn't even. She would like punk us, and she was in our house, and we would just like throw the food and like. We were like, fuck, we can't even walk you, pet you. Like, she was just like, man. I was like, dude, this is a crazy fucking dog, bro.
Dude, walking her is the most stressful thing because any other dog comes by and she goes straight for him. And it's twice as bad if it's a large dog. Damn. If it's a small dog, she's kind of like, yeah, whatever, get the fuck out of here. It's a big dog. She's like, I am going to fucking kill you. I'm going to bite your throat out. I'm like, you are the size of this dog's head.
Yeah. He's just going to
like,
devour you.
Are you really this fucking dumb? And it's not. She's actually, I think she's a really smart dog. She picks things up fast. She just has this beast in her that's just won't.
It's crazy.
And then there's 4 Chihuahuas who live right across the street. And they, like, she goes outside and they're always outside. And they know each other are there. And they just start fucking screaming at each other. Like, you hear the gate on their side start rattling. That's all 4 of the Chihuahuas throwing themselves against the gate trying to get at my Chihuahua.
Yeah. It's so crazy.
They're like, I don't understand what it, like, you know, it's like if pit bulls behaved like that, we'd be shooting pit bulls on sight. Like, holy, like it's totally unhinged psychotic behavior. But it's this little Chihuahua, so everyone's just like, oh, look at how feisty she is. Oh,
crazy.
And she's going, I will fucking murder everything. If it moves, I'm gonna kill it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So yeah, we haven't the dogs that are ants, and we haven't reintroduced them yet. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, there's something though they know. Like my shepherd, with my boy. I mean, I was the alpha, and she started sleeping in front of the door, and then the day her water broke, she had this like vibe. It was crazy. Like, she knew, it was almost like she was sad, but she knew what was happening.
Yeah.
It was wild.
Yeah, that's what I think will happen with the dachshund. He's only 15 pounds, but he fancies himself the man of the house. So I think that's, you know, I'm worried about having friends over. Like, you know, a friend gets too close to the baby, and he's just going to be like, oh, fuck you, man. 10-yard radius, motherfucker. 10-yard radius.
Yeah, back up.
Which is funny because, you know, he's 15 pounds, but he refuses to acknowledge that fact. So he's one of those. A lot calmer though, but then the problem is his sister fucking gins him up, and then he starts biting things. It's like, So we'll see. But that's next weekend. This weekend, coming back to a lighter topic, we have
Playoff football?
Oh yeah, first game of the playoffs is the Cleveland Browns, baby. I'm gonna introduce my son to look. I'm hoping the birth of my child also breaks the cycle. You know, like, I don't believe in, like, mysticism or fate or, you know, I'm a very scientific mind, but I'm just kind of hoping that, like, you know, the fact that this is the first of the male line born outside of Ohio.
Yeah.
You know, there's some kind of juju at work that, like, the pain stops.
Yeah.
And, like, maybe we win a playoff game before I die.
Who are the Browns facing?
That's the problem. I got a really tough draw. Like, thought it was going to be Jacksonville, and Jacksonville's kind of falling apart, and, you know, I don't think Lawrence is the guy, and that would have been great. But no, they got the Texans, who are absolutely red hot, and C.J. Stroud, Ohio State quarterback, is going to be Rookie of the Year, an Ohio State quarterback, Rookie of the Year. Everyone can shut the fuck up about Ohio State doesn't produce QBs. Yeah. All of you can shut the fuck up.
He had a hell of a season.
Yeah, and it's like, it is probably outside of, like, Baltimore and maybe Buffalo, the team I want to play the least. Because, you know, like, even Miami looked good, but Miami's super banged up.
Yep.
And pretty much anyone else, I'm just not, you know, Kansas City usually, but this year, I mean, the team that I'm terrified of right now, like, just because of how they're peaking, is Houston. And that's what we got to play.
Interesting.
So, tough draw, but I mean, look, you know.
I like the odds, though. I mean, I think that'll be a good game. I mean, the defense is there. Joey Flacco's taking you guys there?
Dude, like, if you had told me at the beginning of the year, so it turns out Deshaun Watson still sucks. He's not gotten any better. You wasted $235 million guaranteed money, and everybody hates you. And I'm like, well, shit, that sounds like the Browns season's over, fuck me, right? And then you go, but, what if I told you that you're actually 11-5, 5th seed in the playoffs, being led on a 4-game win streak by Joe Flacco? And I would have said, my friend, I think you've taken too much ayahuasca, let's put you to bed. Like, no fucking way. And here we are, man. And it, like, honestly, next season, whatever happens here, if they don't start Joe Flacco, I think the locker room's going to revolt. Because apparently no one in the locker room likes Deshaun Watson.
Wow.
The fans are going to revolt because none of the fans like Deshaun Watson. And, like, you can't argue with success. And, like, Flacco, he's going to be 39, but I think he's going to start for the Browns next year because I think he's going to give us the best chance to win.
Wow.
And it's just like only with Cleveland would something like this fucking happen.
Wow.
And it's like, just look at David Njoku, right? Like, this is a dude posting like 30, 40 yards a game for his entire career, basically.
What was the final record? What did they finish?
11-5.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the coach's name?
Kevin Stefanski.
Stefanski, yeah. He's
doing an amazing
probably
job.
going to get Coach of the Year, right?
Like, I don't understand how he couldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think D'Amico Ryans from Houston, I think has an argument too. I would give it to Stefanski, but look, I'm a little biased.
Yeah.
But I think it's really one of those two, and I think it will go to Stefanski just because, like, Houston got a lot of really good new pieces.
Yep.
Browns really didn't, and really what they had was, you know, again, the catastrophic Watson thing, and he still turned that into an 11-5 season, and that's not supposed to happen. We're supposed to look like the Jets right now.
All right, break down what happened. Niners picked up Chase Young off you guys?
Oh, no, off the Commanders.
Commanders.
Yeah.
Oh, but you guys had drafted him? Or he was initially?
No.
He was never...
No, there was a trade.
Okay.
There was a trade.
He was never on the Browns?
No.
I'm confusing him with Garrett, right? Myles Garrett?
Yeah, you're thinking of Garrett, or, I mean, we have Denzel Ward, who was a pretty big cornerback at Ohio State.
Okay.
Who injured himself in practice and hopefully will play on Saturday. Fuck. Yeah, but I mean, they actually, until probably about 5 years ago, for about 20, 25 years, didn't have a single Ohio State player on the roster, which was insane.
Yeah, right? That is insane.
Yeah, now they're drafting pretty aggressively. They've got a lineman, they've got, you know, they have Ward, someone else whose name is escaping me right now, but, like, they've been much more aggressive. Oh yeah, they got Ronnie Hickman as a safety.
Okay.
Graduated last year. Had a big pick against Houston actually. So they played them a few weeks back and beat them. So hopefully they can do that.
Did you
again.
guys win the last time you guys played?
Yeah, beat Houston pretty big. I think.
Dude, so I would be going into this pretty,
Yeah. Amari Cooper had like 257 yards or something
Nice.
crazy. Like it was a record, like
He's on
something
my
insane like
fantasy
that.
team,
Yeah, I think that week he did well for you if you started him.
Yeah, and I don't think I started him.
Oh, but that's the thing, because their receivers until Flacco were terrible all year.
Yeah.
And we're doing, like I was talking about Njoku. Like Njoku was averaging like 30, 40 yards a game, no touchdowns. That's pretty much been the story of his career at Cleveland. Flacco comes in, this dude's posting 130, 1-2 TD games. He's looking like fucking Kelsey.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Flacco got that dog in him.
Well, I mean, this turns out this dude is one of the most athletic. He's 6'5". He's got the highest vertical of any starting tight end, apparently.
Really?
And apparently, Flacco was the first QB who figured out, hey, if you throw high and outside to this dude, he'll be the only one that can catch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all of a sudden,
that Ravens run, that playoff in 2012, when he threw that pass over the Broncos corner or safety, that was one of the craziest playoffs ever. That was a really good. I mean, I remember that whole playoff run was just insane.
yeah, I mean, that dude thought he was retiring, and now he's taking an 11-5 team into the playoffs. It's crazy. And apparently, they just love him in the locker room. Like, dudes absolutely support him. Fans love him. I mean, because like the thing with the Browns is we've always sucked, but like, there's that tagline of like lovable losers, right? And when you sign Deshaun Watson, it makes you less lovable.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Yeah.
And like this idea that, we made this mistake, we'll own the mistake, and now we're starting Joe Flacco, who everybody seems to love because, I mean, it's a feel-good story.
Yeah.
It's like this dude was chilling on his couch. He's like, I'm not signed to a team. I'm almost 40. I want to play, but like, there's not a good opportunity, so I guess I'm just gonna hang it up. And then, I guess when
Watson went down.
no, it was before. I'm trying to think. There was another really big. Oh yeah, the Jets auditioned him at one point. The Colts auditioned him at one point. When Richardson and Rodgers went down, and everyone kind of was like, "Oh no, you're too old. We don't want a pocket passer like that." Blah blah blah. And we were the first ones that would get, I think, like the Steelers, like a bunch of people looked at him. Every single one passed.
Wow.
And we looked at him, and whatever's, I don't know what Stefanski saw, but
It's like, bring him.
yeah, because I mean, we had a backup QB. We had Dorian Thompson-Robinson, who's now number 3. So we had a guy, and I don't know what made him make that decision, but yeah, I mean, he pressed the button. We got Flacco, and we have not lost since.
Wow.
Because I mean, the defense has been a Super Bowl caliber defense the entire time. It's just the offense was struggling to get more than one touchdown a game.
Yeah, that Pittsburgh game with Watson, God, man, I was like, fuck the Browns, dude. God, that game was so disgusting.
Yeah, see,
and Pittsburgh's been a really weird team this year, man. Like
and see,
they squeaked into the damn playoffs.
yeah, they are. I mean, look, Tomlinson's a good coach. He always finds. They're gonna get their fucking asses handed to them.
They're playing Miami. Or
yeah,
no?
wait, no. They're 7th. They're playing 2. I think they're playing Buffalo. I want to say.
Yeah.
Buffalo. Yeah, Buffalo's gonna fucking shred them. But they shouldn't. They don't have a playoff caliber team. But he's good.
If Browns win, who are they facing after?
I believe they will be playing. I want to say. Actually, I think it might be the Ravens.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I mean, look, they got. Look,
Hey, Ravens have the only games they've lost to have been to like divisional fucking.
To the Browns.
Yeah,
They lost to the Browns.
I'm. All right, so the Niners Baltimore game was really interesting. It was a really big win. I went back and rewatched the game just. I don't know. I mean, Purdy's 4 interceptions probably didn't help, but they struggle moving the ball. You've seen that against Arizona.
Yeah.
Like they give up these leads, and I'm like, man, dude. I mean, it's gonna be interesting them going in. Like,
well, I think very few teams have a line where they can get. I mean, the way Baltimore seems to strangle you is, they hold you to like 1-2 yard run plays. They force you an obvious pass on third. And, it's just sort of textbook solid defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Cleveland's one of the few teams that has the capability on that. And look, their line's depleted. They're down their fourth and fifth tackles. But the way
Baltimore?
No, Cleveland.
Oh, wow.
But the way these guys have been playing, I think it is possible that they can get enough of a run game set up to get play action.
Who's
and that's one of the few
starting
places.
back? Ford?
Yeah, it's still going to be Ford.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Chubb's, dude, people are like, oh, he'll be fine. He'll be playing next season. I'm like, I don't know, man. Did you see that injury?
Yeah. No, it's pretty bad.
When your bottom of your leg goes forward the same way it goes backward, that's what action figures do. That's not what a human body does.
Yeah.
Holy shit. So yeah, it's going to be Ford, but it's going to be Hunt too. And Hunt has provided a pretty good change of pace. He's really, really good on screens. I mean, I think the thing they can really get Baltimore, is obviously very blitz happy. And you just do these delayed middle screens to Hunt. I think you can get some serious yards off those. You can kind of punish him.
I mean, no.
Yeah, that looks...
down a little bit.
She looks good, yeah. She looks good to me, but more importantly, she will improve. Because it's got to be her perfect photos.
All right. So, couple things to close it out.
Yeah.
What's your boy's name?
Grant.
All right. So,
like the general.
All right.
Yeah.
Big congratulations to
Thank
you. Blessings on Grant bringing him into this world.
Appreciate that, man.
What's your prediction going into the game, Cleveland-Houston?
Cleveland-Houston. I mean, I think Houston's got, I love C.J. Stroud. That dude is tremendous. His story is amazing. So, I would be rooting so hard for them against any other team. It breaks my heart. I think he's going to test that defense because I think he's that good.
Yep.
But I think the Browns, but that's the thing is now the Browns finally have the offensive firepower to stay in a shootout. And I think the defense comes up big at the end. So I'm going to say 27-24, the Brownies.
27-24. It's pretty high, right?
Yeah.
I'm thinking low-scoring game, but okay. All right, dope.
Yeah.
I appreciate everybody tuning in. Drop some comments how we could improve anything on the show. Appreciate you guys, any feedback, anybody tuning in, much love. Enjoy your day. Happy Friday.
Just remember, there's no way for me to get better looking. So, I can't help that. I'm trying.
And let's go, Browns. We're laying money
Here
on
we
the
go,
Browns.
Brownies. Here we go.